Hey folks, if anyone's out there, hold on just a minute. We're getting the streaming code embedded on the blog now. Streaming code embedded on the blog now. Making sure the chat is syncing. Chat is syncing. We're going to go live. Here we go. Alright, here we are, folks. Let's see if we can get this rolling today. We are up and running. Alright, welcome. We've already got some folks with us now, and yeah, it looks like we've got some questions rolling in, or at least some hellos. Hey, folks. Thanks for joining us. I've got some warm-up questions going. Let's see here. Our Dogma has commented on the intros, and sure enough, like I said, after the first broadcast, our test broadcast there, went out, got obviously a couple of new HD cameras, set everything up here, so they've got the low broadcast there, so we're not taking up as much bandwidth here if I'm just talking, but we've got a good HD 1080p cam coming here, high stream, but yeah, we can also switch between cameras, input our intros and all of that, and yeah, it's almost like I know what I'm doing now. Thank you. Funky Plaid likes the hair. I try to make sure that it's easy to spot in a crowd. Since we've got Gen Con coming up, got to keep it funky. Alright, let me go ahead and get started. I've got some questions here. Those of you that are tuning into us now, go ahead and get your questions lined up. Go ahead and use the chat interface there, whether you're watching direct on Twitch TV or on the Secret Weapon blog. But I do have some questions that were previously submitted, and I'm going to open up with a couple of those. The first here from James Barnes, who I understand is actually going to be checking in despite the fact that it's 3 a.m. his time. And he wrote to ask, what's your business relationship with Basecrafts like? They sell your washes and bases and promote your products, but they produce other products that directly compete with your own, like scenic supplies, etc. Is it sometimes hard to form effective partnerships with other companies because of the competitive nature of the business? And this is a great question. I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. I really, really do. Those of you that have had a chance to talk to me before know that I'm big, really big on cooperation even among competitors. It is true that David over at Basecrafts and I direct competitors. He makes scenic products in the UK. We make scenic products here. We use a lot of the same material. We have a relationship with Woodland Scenics. I've acted as a reference for him to get his Woodland Scenics account, in fact. And that was fine. In part, there's not a lot of direct competition because he is selling in the UK, I'm selling in the US. Those are our primary markets. Obviously, there is some overlap. But even still, with the direct competition, generally if you're going to buy from me, you're going to buy from me. If you're not, you're going to buy somewhere else, and that's fine. I find that cooperation, even among direct competitors, simply leads to a better market awareness, better hobby awareness. If we are talking about basing material, David and I are both talking about basing material, even if we're talking to the same customers, folks are going to hear that. Folks are going to be purchasing it. Maybe from him, maybe from me, maybe direct from Woodland Scenics, maybe from Games Workshop, maybe from Mini Nature, Solifor, a lot of great companies out there. If we're talking about them, it should increase overall awareness. People are going to be spending money. We're going to get more folks looking for those products. It's going to drive some of them to us, some of them elsewhere. It doesn't matter. As long as we're creating more awareness of the market in general, I'm happy to do it. And there are companies that I've had a really good relationship with, good luck forming relationships with in that respect. Urban War, if you've been paying attention to them recently, doing all of their stuff on Secret Weapon bases now, all of their product previews, new releases. We're helping promote them, they're helping promote us, good overlap there. Mantic, Ronnie has been incredible. I'm very supportive of the guys over at Warlord Games. I love their models, you guys know that. I love their tanks especially. Got a good working relationship with them. Let's not forget Fiendish Fabrications, Ian at Fiendish Fabrications. He sculpts and sells his own bases, but he's also sculpted some lines for us that we both sell, and that's great. No reason not to. He's in Australia. It's going to be for his customers to get them from him, and I'm perfectly happy to pay for sculpts that we both wind up selling. Nobody really gets hurt by that. Again, you're either going to buy from one vendor or another, and selection alone isn't going to make you buy from me or anybody else. There's a lot of back and forth go into that. And like I said, I think that increasing overall market awareness of the various products out there, even if it means that I'm sending business to one of my competitors, in the end it's going to be good for all of us. And yeah, I like that. James, I hope that answers your question. If not, and you're hovering out there on the chat channel, let me know. I'll be happy to come back to this one. But I figure at this time we should probably go ahead and get to some hobby-related stuff. As always, the live viewers, you guys get first shot here. I do have some previously submitted questions that I thought would be great for today. But if somebody on the live channel has something they'd really like to see demonstrated, now's the time to do it. Let me know what you want. We'll get to it. If you're quick, you might even beat me to the drawer here as I start looking for which ones can be first. Weathering tires. Looks like weathering tires is first, unless live stream beats me to it. Alright. Get some pigments out here. I've got pigments. I've got brushes. I'm going to want one of those. Two of those. And we are going to talk about weathering tires. This question, I've actually had two folks this week ask about how to weather tires, and at what point you know that you've done enough and you can stop. There are folks out there that will probably tell me that I'm not the best person to ask on that, since I have a well-deserved reputation for going a little overboard on my weathering, but I like heavily weathered stuff. Grab a couple of paper towels for the pigments here. And for those of you first-time viewers, this is Secret Weapon HQ. This is my office. I've got the admin and spray booth table here. Do all of my building and sculpting over that table. Specifically because there's no computer, it means I'm less likely to get distracted. Oddly enough, I get a lot more done when I'm not playing video games. Who knew, right? Alright, I just bumped the top-down cam, so we're going to switch over here and see how this goes. Check this out. Second broadcast, we are high-tech. Let's fix that camera. Boom! Look at that. Like I said, we're going to make some big improvements here for the second show. Alright, so what I've got here is a set of tires, a couple of tires. I pulled off one of my 6x6s. Alright, let me get the first tire out here. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my tire, and I will use, in this case, going to use a little something different. This is the as yet unreleased Secret Weapon pigment thinner. I'm going to use that instead of the isopurple tonight because I have a small jar of it and I don't have to do any additional work. I've got 2 of my small square brushes that I'll be using to apply the pigments. I've got 1 blue-handled brush I'm going to use to apply the liquid so that I don't get them mixed up. I've got 1 Manhattan, totally optional. Well, optional unless you're me. I have kind of a thing for Manhattans, if you haven't figured that out by now. Streaming is a bit choppy, but let's see, our Dogma says streaming is a bit choppy, but that could be my own connection, but the quality is really good. Anybody else out there, if you have feedback on the quality of the stream tonight, please let me know. Very important so that we can make sure that we get this dialed in. All of this is new, and I want to make sure that we get this going right. Alright, let's see here. Let's get some colors going for weathering tires. I'm going to do a little bit of desert color on this one. Yellow earth. Get my yellows out. Smudge my paper. That's alright. Slight choppy but livable, says Wily Coyote. Thank you very much. Alright, I'll see what I can do for the next broadcast about that choppiness. I'll talk to the host and see what we can get done. So just like I normally would, I'm going to go ahead and dust these in. I'm going to go ahead and do a brush. I'm aiming largely for the recesses here, obviously, because I'm doing tires. It's going to stick into those crevices or crevasses, depending which side of the pond you happen to be on, I suppose. I'm bringing it light with a dry coat around to this side of the tire. There are a lot of ways to do this, and I'm going to talk probably only about 2 of them tonight. We'll see see what we get in terms of other questions. I don't want to spend all of my time looking at one effect, one technique. Some varying colors here. And again, I've got yellow earth, dark yellow, and burning sands. Very much going for a dusty, maybe Africa core feel here. Alright, once I've got that built up a little bit, I'm going to take my thinner, and I am actually going to brush this in a bit again, because I'm aiming to get the pigment mostly into the recesses. And I'm going to leave that to dry. And I'm going to go ahead and pull out a couple of other colors to do a more urban one. Let's get where we got it. Where's my brick red brick, slate gray, ash gray. So do a second tire. All I've done is prime these in gray. Obviously, if I was going to do actual model with these tires, I would put a little more effort into them. Have them finished, but it's alright. For the purposes of this little broadcast, we should be good to go. Remind myself to stay on my workspace here. I'm going to start with a little bit of the brick color. I want that to be hinted at underneath. It's driving around the streets, running over all the crushed brick. Got to have the crushed brick. Ash gray. A little bit of slate gray. Well, that's still nice and heavy. Capillary action, pull some of that off. Go a little heavier here on the thinner. Run that out. Do a little less blending. So most of the capillary action pulling that down. So we'll come back to our first set of colors. Oh, good. Good. Our Dogma let me know that the audio stream is flawless, and that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. All right. So you can see this is still drying. It's all right. It's starting to clear up for us. We'll go ahead and pull the towel. Help us focus. I did have this set for manual focus, but as I'm changing products around here, I found the manual focus when I was testing it was actually not reliable. So we start to build this up. Alright, well, this is still a little damp. I can already see spots in here where I'm going to want a little more color, so I'm going to scoop my urban colors off to the side. Come back with a little bit of the light stuff. No fan or air conditioner going. A couple of folks here have asked about a fan. No, nothing like that going. If you hear something, it's not the computer fan. Air conditioner is not running at the moment. I wish that it were. But I turned off the fan in the office here specifically so that you guys wouldn't have to listen to it through the whole broadcast. Turned up the air conditioner too, and now I'm regretting that. I might fix that actually. Alright, I'm coming back in with my desert colors. More of that light yellow. I really like the light yellow over the top of this. Back with my thinner. This time mostly capillary action. Thicker. So the question of how to know when you've done too much is a good one. And like I said, it's one that I'm not always good at myself. The trick is to make sure before you get started you have some idea of what you want to accomplish. If you're looking for a nice, heavy, muddy scene, and you're looking for something that's, obviously driving around in a swamp, it's harder to go overboard, right? But if you're looking for something that's just, recently arrived in an urban warfare environment, you're going to be looking for light coating both on the vehicle hull itself and then especially on the tires. Tires don't hold as much, don't get quite as gritty most of the time as tracks do, because the tracks are going to rust. Tracks take a lot of color on their own, even before you start adding environmentals to them. Alright, let's go back to our urban here. This is my urban tire. Got the reds and grays starting to take shape. A little too much of the red overpowered the grays, so I'm going to come back with just the grays, close the red. Might add a little slate green too, but we'll see. The brush got a little damp last application, so new brush. Sagnid wants to know what brand of thinner I'm using. I am using an enamel thinner tonight instead of the isopropyl. This is in fact Secret Weapon brand enamel pigment thinner. We have a enamel thinner and an enamel fixer in the works. Waiting for the toxicologist at Duke to certify them so that I can release them. We've got a few folks testing it now. I've gotten feedback from 3 different folks now. We sent out 8 samples. And, collating all of those replies, getting that feedback worked out. But we will have an enamel thinner and an enamel fixer for the pigments. Yeah, I'm going to come into that tire with some slate gray, or slate green, which I'll dig out now. Slate green. Alright, these are going to take a little bit to dry because I am using the enamel product instead of the isopropyl tonight. It does take longer to dry than isopropyl. Any of you that have taken my workshops or classes before certainly know that isopropyl is not my first choice for working with pigments. I do prefer enamel products, but when I'm doing classes or demos in this case, I tend to use isopropyl just because it dries so fast. But I wanted to give a better example tonight, and also an opportunity, just saying, to hint at the product right here. The secret weapon, oh my god, 2-ounce jar, it's gonna be great. Alright, so let's see what the chat says here. What brand of thinner for those? Time frame on the thinner? I really don't know. I wish that I did. For those of you that are familiar with the art industry and the creative industry, art and creative materials, we actually have a requirement in the United States that all art and creative materials, that includes pigments, fixers, paints, etc., have to be screened by a toxicologist and certified. You'll see AP non-toxic label or toxic warning label on pretty much anything everywhere. I'm trying to find one with my products that actually has it. In some cases, that's just the certification statement. So here's one of my Badger products, ASTM non-toxic. I'm trying to find one that actually has the ACMI logo. Looks like none of these guys have their logo. What a crock! I think it's the logo. Look at that. I just start throwing glue around, why don't I? That'll end well. But anyway, if you guys have seen the ACMI seal on the sides of products, and it talks about whether or not they're toxic or non-toxic, but you'll see the ASTM standard in testing, whether it's toxic, non-toxic, warning, caution, all of that. We're going through all of that. We are now doing. Oh, and it's plastic. Don't worry, it's plastic. But we are now going through all of that. We now sell enough of the washes and pigments that, well, actually everybody is required to get certified, but we're now selling enough that we can't escape notice. So we're making sure that we stay ahead of that and get that done. But it takes time. We have to apply for membership with the ACMI. We have to get that reviewed. We have to give them financial information. We have to send the product samples down to Duke University's toxicology screening department or lab. We have to give them all of the MSDS information for each of the products, how we're combining them, so which products, which ratios are mixed together. So it's, you know, like every recipe, everything, and that takes time. We have asked them to put the enamel products at the front of that list. They have agreed to do so, but it's still going to take time. I was really hoping we'd have it done actually in time for the September launch, and that didn't happen. Obviously, I'd love to cash in on the holiday season with this stuff, but it's all new to us, so I don't know. Alright, so let's go back to the comments here. Wow, some of these colors are hard for me to read. Corn Mortem? Is that really Corn Mortem? Oh, Corn Mortem? Okay. What kind of bottle do they come in? 2 ounce plastic jars, screw top lid, so you've got a nice big basin to work from. Pigments are heavier than the enamel products, so you can just work straight from the jar. Pigment will settle to the bottom. I've got my big pigment fixer here, and you can see a nice thick layer. I'll see if I can get it on camera. A nice thick layer of pigment that will be floating down there in the bottom. All the time I've been using that. And the problem I have with the MIG product, it takes forever to dry. That's one of the things we've been working on. We're using working from the same chemical series, an Exxon chemical. But we're using a different blend than MIG uses, largely because, I mean, it can take an hour to 5 hours for a layer of pigment fixture to dry, and I just think that's unreasonable. So we're looking for something, been working on a recipe for the same hardness, but much faster drying time. I'd like something that's 15 minutes to a half hour tops, absolutely the maximum for the fixer. For the thinner, I'm looking for something that's 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops, which in the case of the tires, we've got now. So I'll come back to these, but we've got more questions. Let's see what we got. Oh, and the Duke Lab, it's not just us, it's anybody that does art and creative materials. So every paint that comes into the country, you'll see the ACMI logo on a bunch of stuff. Just apparently none of the things that I happen to have handy, comically enough. Here we go. Leave it to my Elmer's glue, right? So here's the ACMI logo. There it is. So that's what we're waiting on. We're waiting for our ACMI stamp of approval. And that's everything art and creative. Like I said, legally speaking, every art and creative material that gets sold in the United States has to be certified. That includes every little pigment, that includes every little paint, wash, ink, anything. It's one of the things, if you guys are familiar with Les Bresley's story for the Secret Open washes, when they were still less original washes and less dirty washes, one of the things that he ran into was the cost of getting that certified. It was one of the things that led for him to say, you know what, I'm just not interested in this. And yeah, so that's where we're at now. You know, when I mentioned cost, yeah, it's expensive. We won't talk about that. I'll just drink. What else we got? Alright, coming back to the comments here, live comments. Jersey good stuff, so we can't wait. Alright, nobody's got any new questions. Remember, folks, live questions always get priority over the previously submitted questions for live demonstration. But since you got nothing for me, Boom! We're coming back here. We're going to talk about these tires. So this is drying up. I am going to take you all for a wild ride here. We're going to zoom the camera down. It will increase the focus tension a bit. Focused on a smaller area. Let's get the second lamp out here. Really light things up. Alright. Now I've got 2 lamps going and no air conditioning. This is going to be super awesome. I'm glad you guys can't smell me in my fancy secret weapon shirt here. Alright, so here is my Urban tire. Thoroughly dried now. There we go. Now you'll remember that I put the gray on nice and heavy and then let capillary action pull that out because I was looking for a dappled heavy gray surface. Now this is a little heavier than I wanted actually. It's one of the reasons that I like working with thinner for the first layers, because I can always come over this with a fixer. Is that I can blend some of that down. I can take the heavy points right now and stipple them in a bit. Boom, 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 boom. So I've done that. If I decide it needs to be more gray, I can add more gray, more red, whatever the case may be. But as an Urban tire, I mean, what I would do is obviously bring the color around on this side. I'd add some rust and some grease in here with a little bit of Payne's gray oil and brown and black oils. But here is our desert wheel. Come on, come on. I might have to go back to my manual focus here and just do it each time. Let's see if we can do that. Bear with me, folks, as we start testing things on the go here. No, it's not going to let me do it. It says, hey man, you're already using this camera. Why would I let you do that? I say, camera control, focus, manual focus. Oh, look at that! I can do it. Alright. Cooking with gas now. So here is my tire. Yeah, this is one too. It broke off, but somebody's commenting on the quality of the cast for the tires, and yeah, they cast now with a little nub. Fits into the chassis of the 6x6, and they are boss. You'll also see, yeah, the tire's nice and smooth here. Everything is good. But back to our desert base. If I wanted a little more color here, and I would, I just add a little bit more of the dark yellow into the recesses. And again, bring it around on the side, paint up the hull or the rim, add some grease. Probably not a lot of rust. It's not going to get a lot of moisture in the desert, obviously, but certainly some grease. And that's my tires. So this is weathering Urban tire or weathering tires. A couple of different colors we can look at. Again, if you think it's too heavy, if you're using the thinner, smooth down the tire surface a bit. Boom. Bam! Anybody have any questions about weathering our tires? Oh, look at that, I have a manual zoom too. Have I mentioned I'm totally geeking out on this camera? Alright, here we are. Any questions on the tires? We're going to move on. I'll take the next question, unless you guys have one for me. Alright, let's see what we've got here on the comments. Broken nibs can be pinned and are not a problem. Well, that broken nib, I had this very thoroughly glued to a 6x6, and rather than go and steal wheels from the shop and make David grumpy, I tore them off of my 6x6. So there's a broken 6x6 in it. Of course, that just means that at some point I'm going to have to go into the shop and steal a 6x6, but I don't have to do that right now. I've got too many projects. Of course, I suspect that you all have too many projects too. It's kind of what we do, right? Alright, let's see what we got here. Zombies Are Cool Painting, talking about working with pigments that putting thinner or fixer over the top of it really tones things down, and that's true. It's one of the things to remember about working with pigments. Very, very important is to have some idea of what your pigments look like. Be happy with them prior to applying your thinner or fixer, and not to touch it again until it's dry. This is a general rule. Obviously, there are exceptions to that. Certainly, there are instances when you want to put the thinner or fixer down first and then put pigment over the top of that. We're not talking about that right now. As a general rule, wait for it to dry. Make sure you see what you're doing. And actually, that's still true when you're doing pigments over a layer of thinner or fixer, when you're trying to get that really gritty look, like for ash or waste or anything like that. Do a layer, maybe two. Let it dry thoroughly. Do the next layer. You always want to make sure you're letting it dry between applications so that you get a clear picture of what it's going to look like. Because I mean, you guys saw the tires here as they were drying. Yeah, I mean, much different, night and day difference. All right, what do we got? We got plenty of chatter going on here. Will matte finish change the look? I can never. This is from August Manifesto. Will matte finish change the look? I can never get it to stay without matte finish, but that messes up the finish. A couple of good questions there. One solution, of course, is to use an enamel pigment fixer that is going to have a matte finish. We have one coming right now. The one that I recommend is from Big Productions. The Big Pigment Fixer is a great product. I know that he's with AK now. I haven't used the AK Pigment Fixer, but I'm willing to bet $1 it's exactly the same product because it's still MIG. He just happens to not work for MIG now. Anyway, there's a story there that I'm not going to tell. We have one in the works. Ours probably won't be available until second quarter of next year. Hopefully sooner. We're working on it. But if you are going to do a spray enamel over the top of that, take a look at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/secretweaponvideos. And you'll see a video there where I actually do spray varnish over pigment, and I give a before and after, both on one of my models, one of my Blood Angels models, and one of our Jersey barriers that I put pigment over the top of. You'll notice that there's no loss or very little loss to texture and no loss to color. Chances are good if you're losing a lot of that texture and color, it means you're applying the varnish too heavily. I find that most folks apply varnish and primer. That's the word I was looking for. Varnish and primer much too heavily when they're working on models, particularly with pigment. Once you get to the point where you're going to varnish the model, if you're going to use a spray varnish either out of your airbrush or out of a can, you're not trying to seal the model. You're not trying to protect the model. You're trying to keep the pigments from moving much. You're really just locking the pigments down at that point. All right, so let's see here. Our Dogma has suggested that I include a transcript of questions and answers when I post the video. Instead, what I'm trying to do, obviously, and get into the habit of now, is as I'm reviewing questions either previously submitted or here in the live stream, is make sure that I identify who asked them and what the question was. I know in the first broadcast, I simply started answering questions, and sure enough, afterwards, I was confused. I suspect you guys would be too. So let's see. AK doesn't have a fixer yet? That's bizarre. Funky Plaid has said that AK doesn't have a fixer yet. I'll have to look. I suspect that they have to. Maybe it's just not up yet. Or out of stock. One of the problems I've had with AK and MIG both recently is that everything that I want is out of stock. Oh well. Wiley Cody wants to know if that will mess up the airbrush. No, putting an enamel pigment fixer or pigment thinner through your airbrush will not mess it up if you're cleaning your airbrush properly. So make sure you do proper airbrush maintenance and everything will be fine. Does the Secret Weapon enamel, this is Zombies Are Cool Painting, wants to know if the Secret Weapon enamel fixers or thinners smell. No, it doesn't. But don't breathe it. I have my shiny new spray booth here, and this is here because I spent the better part of a week testing my pigment fixer actually through an airbrush to do a Stug 3 model that I used for a competition at KublaCon this year. And yeah, at the end of the first day, realized I had effectively been spraying gasoline in my house, so breathing aerosolized gasoline in my office for an hour. Got up to go to the bathroom and realized I was sick. So don't do that. It's on the list of things you should not do, and will say so on the label of the product where it says use only in a well-ventilated area, blah, 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 blah. You've all seen it before on the back of all of your enamel spray cans because you don't want to go breathing that stuff a lot. So no, it's not particularly smelly, but yes, like any enamel product, it is dangerous. It is flammable. Don't breathe it. Don't drink it. Yeah, don't confuse it for your Manhattan. All right. Corner Mortem wants to know any tips for weathering on dark-colored hulls. My efforts seem to come out looking too bright. It contrasts with the hull and looks unnatural. I'm trying to find a good set of weathering pigments for a dark green hull. Yeah, actually, that's a great question. There's a good general answer to that, which of course is consider your environment in the first place. Obviously, if you've got a dark green hull and you are going to have a tank that's set in yellow sands, it's going to clash. It's just gonna. That's how that works. It's part of the reason that we paint our Abrams and Iraq tan, right? So think about the environment. I mean, that should always be the first question when you're looking at pigments and you find that you've got some some clashing colors going on or something like that. The answer is, definitely start with the environment, and that should dictate both the color of the vehicle and the color of the pigments you're going to use. Like I said, they're not that likely, at least, to send a green tank into a yellow environment. It doesn't make a lot of sense when you think about it. But if you are still getting clash, even if you've got a tan Abrams and some yellow pigments on the hull, simple answer is try different pigments. Look for reference photos. You'll find a lot of Abrams tanks with browns, good browns on them. But the internet, particularly for modern colors, you'll find that the internet is full of sources. Google Images is your friend. Definitely look for photo sources as you're working for that. It will help dictate the colors. If you're still stuck, if that doesn't answer your question, let me know. Come back to it. We can answer that a little better. Okay, Sagnet is letting us know that AK does have a fixer. Figured they would. Not surprised, like I said. It's MIG at both places, so he's just taking the recipes with him. All that testing, yeah, Wiley Cody says all the product testing explains my hair. Yeah, that probably would. Alright, let's see what we got. Alright, so we are out of current questions. I'm going to go back to the list unless somebody on the live stream has a question for me. I can cross off weathering tires. Oh, alright, we've got 2 questions that I'm going to make you guys choose between. We've got detailing tanks and basing with pigments. You guys want detailing with tanks or basing with pigments? Detailing with tanks or basing with pigments? Either way, I can answer either of those questions with the greatest of ease. I'm going to have everything I need right here to answer either one of those questions. Or I should. Yeah, that'd be nice if I did. Basing. Everybody says basing. We've got, we've got lots of questions for basing. Wiley Coyote, I do have your question on basing with pigments. It's actually not the one I was going to. We can talk about specific colors, but right now what I'm going to talk about is technique. In terms of the colors, refer back to what I said about thinking about your environment. You are talking about, well, I'll come to this. What do we got here? Alright, so Wiley Coyote wrote and says, I am creating a Chaos Dwarf army using Forge World models, and I want an Ashen Plain type base for the army. What combo of pigments would you recommend for the Legion of Asgore? Asgore? Yeah. The models are painted with tin bits and chainmail with lots of purple, red, and brown glazes over them to make it look like the pictures in the... I'm not even going to bother. That book starts with the T. How dense would you build them up to achieve a darker ashen look that doesn't go too gray or become flat and boring, which is what happens when I try it with what I have. I'm open to suggestions about out-of-the-box approaches to do it, but no lava, please. I'm not interested in that look. Well, since we are about to release lava bases in September, in fact, I'm going to get to those previews in a minute. That's what I should have been doing. I'll do that after the basic tutorial. I think you need to do a lava because we're releasing lava bases. No, just kidding. All right. Ash bases. That's a great question. I can actually answer that by showing you some of my ash bases. My Blood Angels are on ash waste bases. When I did the Heroes for Armageddon project, I guess that's a couple of years ago now, or last year, I did not work on the Blood Angels Marines, but I really liked the idea of what they did. They went for the ash waste of Armageddon. So when I did my Descent of Angels list, the first thing I did was put them all on ash waste bases. And you'll see a video on our YouTube channel, in fact the one that I use for the spray varnish video, has a step-by-step on how I create this particular ash waste. It may not be the one you're looking for, but play around with some ideas, play with your colors. You'll get that worked out. All right. So we've still got folks asking for the basing of pigments questions. We've now had 2 folks ask for square bases. I'll address that as we get into... well, I'll come back to that, actually. I'm not going to go off on a tangent. That is totally a tangent. All right, so let's look at some ash bases here. Make sure the camera is centered. So let's find a couple of my models that I like. What do we got here? Let's find... He's fun. My librarian. Who else has a good one? I mean, they're all good, of course, right? But let's find a couple of my favorites. Where is the guy I'm looking for? Hello, Mr. Two Swords guy. Huh, I must have eaten that one. I like him so much I swallowed him whole. Nope, that's not it. Ah, there he is. Right in front of me. No wonder I couldn't find him. Alright, and let's take... Well, let's start with that. Middle, bottom row? Somebody wants to see middle, bottom row. Alright, I'm going to get you to come back here. I will. Middle, bottom row. This is bottom, what were you seeing? This was your bottom row? One of these, this one. We'll come back to it. I've got plenty. Let's see what we got here. Alright, so these are a couple of my Blood Angels. Let's go manual settings again here. So settings, configure, video capture. Ooh, that's not settings, configure, camera control. Look at that. Boom, focus, zoom, and focus. Boom. That didn't help. Alright, look at this, man. We are cooking with gas. I love this. Alright, so we've got the first guy here. Again, this base, except for the ring, is entirely pigment. Step by step for that is on the YouTube page. Now I did go gray on this guy, but not all of them are as gray. One of my 2 chainsword guys here is more green. Whooshka. See, I had to weight him down with one of our skulls, the buffalo skulls. Ah, and this is the one that our dogma saw. This is what he wanted me to pull out. This was his center bottom row model. Yeah, this guy's one of my favorite. And yeah, I was very much going for an ashen waste, but I wanted it to be clear that this was more toxic on some of these. So I definitely went more green here. And this is Ancient Earth, Slate Gray, Slate Green, Ash Gray, and a hint of white. I also added some black on a couple of them. I think this guy's got some black and white on him. Yeah, he's got some black and white on him. So you can see little specks of black that appear here and there through over the base. Again, with the idea, particularly you can see it right through there under his feet. with the idea of creating different types of ash, so that I had some different effects. Zombies Are Cool Painting wants to know where that skull comes from, and if we make it. Of course we make it. That's part of our buffalo skeleton set. If you go to the Secret Weapons site and you look at the conversion bits, actually I think right there on the front page we've got a button that says skulls. You can click on that and you'll find the buffalo skeleton. It's a complete buffalo skeleton at 1/48 scale. Ben Saunders did that for us, did an incredible job. Couldn't be happier, honestly. So this is one way to do ash waste. This might be more gray than you're looking for, but again, this is pretty green. My squads do vary a bit, including model to model within the squads. If you have a specific question about basing with pigments in terms of getting an ash color, I can address that. Otherwise, I will talk about it in a broader, more abstract sense here in just a second. Any specific questions about the Blood Angels before I put them away? Because I will go get rid of those now. Our dogma, actual question, I've seen people use pigments for lighting effects. Did you use any of those for the jet blue on the backpacks, or the blue jet on the jetpacks? No, I did not. That was done entirely with airbrush and acrylic paint. I've seen pigments used for OSL, for object source lighting. It's something that I've never done myself. If I was going to do that, I mean, my go-to for OSL is an airbrush, and then slow layers of thin blended paint. I've never used pigment specifically to create an OSL effect. I could imagine how it would be done, but I think that I would get a better look from thin layers of acrylic or even oils than I ever would out of pigments by themselves. But again, having never tried it, I'm operating on a purely theoretical sense here. I don't have any experience behind that to really justify it. So give it a shot. Take a look. I'm sure there's tutorials out there that will address that specifically. And that's going to be a better source for OSL with pigments than I'm going to be. Alright. A little bit of Manhattan, which also has some water at this point. The exciting drinking water segment. Alright, so basing with pigments. There's nothing particularly different. Oh, I should keep these because I got to look at the September releases. Nothing particularly different about working with pigments on bases. The application method is going to be the same. If you're looking for a heavy, gritty look, like I did with the Blood Angels Ash Waste, I do that by putting down the thinner or fixer first, sprinkling the pigment onto it. In this case, it would be a thinner. Put down a layer of thinner, sprinkle the pigment over the top of it in random patches. Let that dry completely. You can stipple in spots where it's too heavy, where you want to blend the color together. Repeat, 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 repeat. Finally bring a light layer up, or a light or heavy layer, depending on what you're looking for, up onto the body of the model. Certainly on the legs, certainly on the knees, any capes or anything that's going to hang low to the ground. Make sure you're paying attention to the scabbard. Even in places, I mean, any of the seams where the body's going to get exposed a lot, so elbow seams, back of the knees, front of the knees where they might be kneeling, especially the feet, of course. Anything like that, you're going to want to get at least a light layer of pigment on. Yeah, unless there's a specific question about basing with pigments, I'll move on. 3, a 2, a 1. We can come back to it in case something comes up. Alright, so Ichiban Painting wants to know about the future of Secret Weapon. So we're going to start with September. The September releases, I did promise that I would preview the September releases right here, right now, and that's what we're going to do. So, back to the glaring white sheet of paper. Alright, let me get some September releases here. Oh, we got them, we got them. Let's start with the bases because I happen to have them right here. Look at this, all bagged up. Ready to go. Alright, let's find the beveled, round lip, round lip, round lip, round lip, round lip, round lip. So many round lips. 25mm. These are the Lava Flow bases. This is our September release. Boom. Look at that. Flash on this. As you guys know, we do ship things out. This is actually stuff we would ship. Ship it out with some flash, but again, our policy is if you can't clean it up with a hobby knife, It should never have shipped. These, a little bit of flash, I can clean all that off with my fingernail. Boom, look at that. The bottoms of these bases, oh, nice and smooth. They're so pretty. So let me get the manual zoom and focus running here on this one again. Here, video capture, camera control, zoom. Focus. Bam. Look at that. Alright. So we're zoomed in. Got some good focus going on here. So these are the lava flow bases. This is the 25mm beveled set. Again, we did these in the hollow, so you can get the look of the flowing, rippling lava through here. A nice thing about this is, again, you get that nice 3D look. And also, if you decide to turn these into ice bases, as so many people did with our old lava flow bases, you've got room in here to add the crushed glass, so you can paint this top in a frozen ice look, fill in the gaps here with some crushed glass, and still have a nice smooth place. Plenty of room to put the model on all of these. And again, we've got that variance in texture. Manual focus is a nice thing. So we've got that variance in texture here between the flowing lava and the dry lava. Scoot these off to the side. Let's get one with a bigger body here. Let's get the 40mm out so you guys can see a little bit more of the texture I'm talking about. Yeah, I've seen a lot of folks doing lava bases recently, and I suspect it has something to do with the upcoming Chaos releases. This has actually been top of my list. I spent a lot of time trying to find the right combination of textures for lava. Lava Flow was one of the first sets I did, Lava Flow and Trenchworks. Hugely popular. I get a lot of emails from folks asking for them to come back. So it was very much top of my list, and I'm glad that we have these. I'm very, very happy with how this worked out, because this is what I'm talking about. Boom. All the nice ripples, little bubbles, but still the sterrated levels here where everything's cooled and dried. Again, boom, flowing, rippling magma. Alright, we've got a question about tanks on the chat here from D.W. Taylor. I'm going to say come back to that. I'll be happy to talk about doing paint chips on tanks in a bit. For right now, we're going to stick on the September releases, since I was supposed to get to that earlier, and we've had questions about it. So there's our 40mm beveled lava flow. Go a little more quickly through these at this point so that you guys have a chance to see everything. I just finished the bike bases today. We're going to have a big bike race bike base release in a few weeks. All of the sets that are missing bike bases now are going to have them. Here's the 6001. So again, dried magma, or I'm sorry, dried pumice, flowing magma, big bubble. Wanted to make sure I had one with some gigantic honking bubbles. So we've got that. Here is the 6002. Again, these are fresh from the shop. Boom, a little bit of flash again along the edge. Clean that off with my fingernail. Smooth, flat bottom. Chosen at random from the shop. Nothing special here. And again, you've got that nice rippling lava flow. I mean, look at that little lumpy bumps. Oh yeah, look at the flow. Look at the flow. Sorry, I'm still geeking out over these. I'm very happy with how they came out. Here, where we've got the raised section, we got the magma flowing down, pooling out into here. Deep cracks, crevices. Ah, so great. If I say so myself, I'm willing to recognize that I might be more than a little bit biased here, since this is another set that I sculpted, and I really like lava bases. So again, here's the 30mm bases. Let me get the, gotta remind myself we've got manual focus going on now. I have to actually work harder. Alright, so here's our 30mm. Again, with some of the bubbles. 3D effect. We've used the submerged bases. Nice clean bottoms. Ooh, hey, this one got a little bit of mold. Look at that. Cleaned out. All done. Yeah, you ever find a cast that has a little bit of mold in it, consider yourself lucky. It's a bonus. So there's our 30mm round lips. Come off to a different side. Come back to it later. Alright, these are 50s, these are 40s. Our Dogma asks, do you receive communications from competitors telling you to stop being so awesome? No, nothing so trite, but I did get a good giggle. There was a week, 3 of my competitors were working on new urban releases, and all 3 of them were answering questions from customers on Facebook. People said, "Oh wow, that broken wall right there, right? Because you know, urban base, it's got to have a broken wall." Everybody said, "Oh man, that would be so great if you could put some rebar sticking up out of that broken wall." And all 3 of them said, "Oh yeah, that'd be great, except that it's impossible. You'd never be able to cast that." This was also the week that we released our new Urban Rebel set. And if you take a look at the broken wall on the 95 by 120, you'll find rebar sticking out. So while I don't get communications saying stop being so awesome, I did have to say I felt pretty good about the fact that we can cast rebar, even though 3 of my competitors say it's impossible. So I'm not sure what we're doing differently, but apparently we can do the impossible. So there's that. Alright, let's see here. Again, these are the 40mm round lips. Boom! Different textures, flowing lava, dried pumice. Oh man. Totally geeking out on this. Let's see what we got. More questions about these. Wiley Coyote wants to know, would you pigment the pumice or just paint it? Yes. The answer to that is yes. And again, you can do this as an ice field. D.W. Taylor points out where they work for slime and acid rivers. They absolutely positively would. I actually had hoped to make some time to do a set in green, a set in red, and a set in blue, so that I could show them as toxic sludge, lava, or ice. But didn't get time. We've got Gen Con coming up. Things are crazy busy. And I'm actually trying to work a bit less as the summer has come and gone here, and it occurred to me that I haven't spent enough time with my family, and since I left my career to do this and spend time with my family, got to prioritize. So here's another one of our 50mm round lips. Coming up on the end, and then we get to some terrain. That's right, we've got terrain coming out for September. Ooh, I just ripped this bag. David's going to be unhappy with me. He was just going to repack all of these. Alright, so here's another one of our 50s. Nice deep crevices, cracks. Here is another 50. Actually, the bike bases are my favorite, and I won't be able to preview those tonight. Dave just poured the mold for those, in fact. Oh, hey. New mold. Here's another one with a nice little bubble. Love the bubbles. I love them, I love them, I love them. But, pièce de résistance. Boom! Look, I gotta zoom out. 120mm. It's not zooming out. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? There we go. Zoom back in a bit. This is the 120mm. This is actually one that was rejected. I came back and filled in these gaps here. But all the ones that we have in the shop right now have actually been committed to Gen Con. Cool Mini or not, I'm going to be there for the week and doing product demos. But Gen Con, the Cool Mini will actually be releasing the September products early at Gen Con. So if you want to get your hand on any of the lava bases, come to Gen Con, which is, like I said, all of these that are in the shop, they're packed up in Cool Mini's order. They're actually on their way to the post office right now. So we've got nice bubbles, we've got the flowing, rippling magma, we've got cracks and crevasses. All the texture. I don't know how much of this you can actually see, but it's got a great lumpy, bumpy texture there. Very uneven, very flowy. Alright, we'll check in on the don't repack them, just send them to me. It says Ichiban Painting. Yeah, everybody wants the stuff. Well, you know what? You don't get it. Oh, hey, I forgot the 95 by 120. Can't do that. Here's our 95 by 120. This time, lots of magma. I went for big magma here. I know 95 by 120s, we've got the big monstrous creatures, the Dread Knights, and flyers for you GW players out there. And yeah, I thought a little more magma in this case would be nice for you. It is raised and lowered, so you've got a nice three-dimensionality to it. Lots and lots and lots of the flowing magma pooling together. It's my favorite spot right here. Let's get that in some shadow. Look at that. Oh, look at that. I love it. Alright, but enough of that. Let's go on to some terrain. Living Still has asked me a question about some pigment stuff. Living Still, hold on to that question, come back to it. Chances good I won't be able to see it by the time we're done with the terrain pieces here. And I don't want to forget you. Those live questions always get priority for me. So let's look at the second piece in our scrapyard line. You guys have already seen the scrapyard walls at this point, the barricades, excuse me. This is another piece for that line. This is our destroyed tank. Boom. Also a Mike Dosher design. He did the concept and the 3D on this. So you've got nice textured tracks, good gribbly detail bits out where it's destroyed. All of the interior detail. I mean, Mike really outdid himself on this. He really, really did. But that might be why he's Mike Dosher. Look at all that interior detail. Again, it's one of our casts. We've got a little bubble here, but you know, nothing's going to interfere with it once it's down. We'd ship this. It's not going to interfere with the model or take away from anything. You'll never get one where it comes through on the side, though. Same thing here. That wee little guy, but I mean, you can see the size of this. Look at this thing. It's massive. 1/48 scale. All the little gribbly bits. Is this the one? Oh yeah, yeah. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. He's got bolt cutters. Bolt cutters down there. I love it. I love it. Big hole through here. Interior hatchway blown open with the cabling. Top hatch blown open with trash. You can see the cupola has actually blown out. I love it. Another one, the tank, yeah, the cannon. So all together, I mean, this is the destroyed tank set. Line it up however you want for your scrapyard terrain. Hold on to this for January, because all I'm going to say at this point is January. It's all about scrapyard. Full table, scrapyard. Bases, walls, pillbox, gate, tower. Oh my God, it's going to be epic. It really, really is. I can't begin to tell you how excited I am for January. Our 3-year anniversary is going to be amazing. All right, those of you out there too familiar with Rictus, hobbyist 3D designer, does some great work. He came up with this really incredible plasma generator. It's a great piece, and agreed to sell it to Secret Weapon. So we now have a generator and a control panel. Look at this thing, right? A high voltage thing there. You can see he actually did. You might be able to see. Let's see if I can zoom and focus that right. There you go. Very subtle. The casted lines, or the printed lines here, intentionally printed so that you'd get the little guidelines if you wanted to do the yellow and black hazard stripes, but obviously not so heavy that you'll see them if you decide to do that as a solid color. So we've got the high voltage symbol there, an event, high voltage symbol, an event here. It's very, very subtle lines to do your hazard marks. Oh, look at that. It really got to work to even show them off, even in this light. On the top, control panels and buttons. So we've got a control panel. Presses right up against this. It's not a permanent attachment. Like a lot of these things that lock together, in this case, if you want it to be permanent, you'll have to glue it. We did it this way on purpose so that you had the flexibility to change your mind. One of the things I know for tabletop terrain is, we like to rearrange it every time, and that's why, although we're selling this as a set, we're also selling this as a set. Wow, look, it's 2 generators. What would you do? Oh, well, for one thing, they're evenly bifurcated, so you can glue them together, stick them on the wall of a building, on the interior wall of a building. I mean, look at that. That's cool, right? Big centerpiece in the back. Or, since they press up snugly against each other, like so, meow, you can buy one of these and one of these and put them together like so. Oh snap! Isn't that great? I'm sure I have a, here we go. My little test guard using our, here's our great coat legs, the respirator, and the gas mask head with some GW bits. It's a GW torso. It's our gas mask head, our respirator, and our great coat legs. Just me playing around on one of our Urban Rebel bases. But here he is for scale. So I'll just hold that up to the control panel. Put it flat together. Boom. Isn't that nice? Yeah, he did a great job with these. We've got a lot more terrain coming from Rictus. The entire new Imperial line of terrain is going to be a Rictus creation. Great work. Great work. I can't say enough nice things about that, about how happy I am to be working with him. So here is our new generator setup. Focus. There we go. Boom! Boom! God, I love it. I really do. Alright, let me put that back on autofocus. Zoom back out. Hit OK. And come back up here. Alright, so that is what's coming in September. Beyond September, do I want to tell you anything about November? Oh, God, I don't know. I don't know. Does anybody on the chat channel there want to say please? Because I happen to have the November bases sitting right there. I can see them. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Here, I'll show you the bottom of one. You want to see the bottom? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's what the bottom looks like. Oh, snap. Would he really do that to you? Would Mr. Justin be that much of a jerk? Look at all these people now saying, please, please, please. Oh, it's white out. Oh, sorry, that's all you get to see. No, I'm just kidding. We'll give the camera a second. Here it comes. What is that? Oh my God, it's disgusting, right? This is going to be the alright, camera control. Zoom. Let's turn off that autofocus. Let's get rid of that again. Let's go back in here. Boom, 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 boom. Oh my God, it's gross. Oh, that's better. No, I'm just kidding. Here we go. Boom, this is creeping infection. Our good friend Pedro Navarro is back. Creeping infection, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. We got pockets full of maggots. We got fungus chimneys. We got skulls. Now you might remember that Pedro did the Alien Invasion set for us, and I wasn't content with that. You might remember that after Alien Invasion happened, we decided to have him take some steel plating and some urban streets and turn them into Steel Invasion and Urban Invasion. I'm not saying that he's going to do that for creeping infection so that we would have urban infection and steel infection. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm not saying. Absolutely not saying that I'm not saying that. But that Manhattan is good, I will say that. Alright, so let's see here. Let's see what we got. Back to the chat channel here. Plague base or ocean floor. Our Dogma has pointed out that might make a good ocean floor base, and you know what? You are absolutely right. That could be really great. I know that for Kings of Wrath, they've got that. Oh, I'm trying to remember the name of the race for the ocean-based race for Kings of Wrath. I love the models, the stuff coming out for Kings of Wrath right now. The Longhorn Demon guy. Oh, I'm in love with that model. But I digress. Yeah, they've got those the ocean race. Yeah, this would look really good under them. We will have, of course, round lip set. A full round lip set including 125 40mm bases, of course, just like all of our other round lip bases. So 13 bases coming out just for creeping infection before we get to anything else. Before we don't, I'm not saying that we're going to have steel infection, urban infection. It's going to be awesome. Pedro has those now, so yeah, look for that. It's going to be great. Alright, Plague World. Yep, that's absolutely true. Yeah, one of the things I like about being able to do the trios like that, whether it's Alien Invasion, Urban Invasion, and then Steel Invasion, is that you can actually use that to combine for your models, right? So you might put your frontline guys, like with the Alien Invasion, we did envision some Tyranid players who might have like their little Hormagaunts and stuff on the urban street spaces. You might have, say, some warriors on some urban invasion bases, right? So you've got the urban streets up front where the Hormagaunts are just now hitting the front lines. It's all clean, it's all urbany. You've got your guys in the middle there that are on the urban invasion bases, right? So you've got the urban street spaces with a little bit of creep on them, and then in the back you've got your Carnifex and all of that on the alien invasion bases, so it's full creep. If we were going to do that for the creeping infection bases, same idea would apply. You could have your frontline guys, your cultists or whatever out there on some urban street spaces. You could have your your elites, your chosen, things like that out on some urban infection bases. So it's a combination of urban and the creeping infection. And then your guys in the back, your demon prince or whatever, is hanging out on a 60 millimeter creeping infection base where it's all just maggots and nasty, and it's gonna be great. So that's the September preview, and apparently the November preview. I wasn't gonna do that. I'm probably gonna get in trouble, I guess, with myself. I'm the only one who can get mad at me for that. So I guess I just won't. November preview. There you go. Looking at the release calendar now. No, you can't see it. We've got some other stuff coming. Hopefully. We'll see how that goes, but January is what I'm excited about, man. I can't wait. January, it's all scrapyard. We've got scrapyard terrain, we've got scrapyard bases, scrapyard. It's going to be an entire table of scrapyard, and I am so excited. Mike Dosher and Corey Anderson are working together to bring us some really amazing stuff for January. It's going to be great. It's our 3-year anniversary. I'm excited. It's going to be great. All right, so what do we got? More questions. Round lip bases are greatly appreciated. For living still, hey, no problem. I've got a Worm Hordes army myself. My Kato army's back there. In fact, playing War Machine is what made me do 4 of the 50mm bases for each set, because I went to do Urban Rebel for my Kato army. And of course we had, I think it was just 1 50mm base at the time. And yeah, I realized as soon as I went to do this, no, it was 2. It was 2 50mm bases for the Urban Rebel. And I realized, I was like, oh, I've got 3 jacks. This is boring. So now it's 4 of the 50mm bases, each theme. But let's come back to some questions. This is the Ask Mr. Justin show, and I have to say I actually feel a little bad spending a half hour now talking about Secret Weapon. I mean, yeah, Secret Weapon, yay. But I'm happy to talk about other products, other companies, other stuff going on. If you guys have questions about products or techniques or things like that, let's come back to the questions. I do have some previously submitted questions. Let me say I can cross off facing the pigments. The other one that we were going to look at is details, detailing tanks. I can come back to that. Or I can see what's over here on the live chat channel. What do we got? Zombies Are Cool Painting asks, do you have any plans to do some brass etch leaves and or plants? I recently did a Space Marine on a jungle base and was forced to resort to the GW1s, which are pretty mediocre in my opinion, to say the least. I know some other companies do them, but it would be great to see you guys doing some. Also, have you ever considered doing laser cut paper plants? The answer to both of those is yes. We have considered doing laser cut paper leaves. They're very expensive. I'll just put that out there. At one point we were looking at 4 cents per leaf is the best quote that I've gotten, and I had to buy a metric crap ton of leaves to get that. I'm not opposed to it, and I have that quote sitting around, and I'm looking into that. I actually have models that have been shipped to me today, and I have no idea what these are. I haven't opened these yet. I'm not going to do it now. But I'm trying to answer your other question about brass etch by showing you the sprue, and I can't do that. We do have a frame, our first frame of brass etch foliage in the works. Working with my good friend Ann, an incredible designer, on that. And yeah, we've got that. Frankly, it's just been a question over the last 4 months of me getting enough time to sit down and finalize that frame, because while Ann is very, very good at doing the leaves, the designs and all of that, I don't really trust anyone else to do the frame layout, because we get it wrong, we lose the money. We send that to the people that handle our brass etch. We have to order a minimum of 4 sheets of brass for each of our little frames. We get literally a couple hundred frames. And if it's wrong, if it turns out that there's some problem with our design, although they try to catch it, if they don't catch it and we don't catch it, we lose out, and we lose all of that. We're just out the money. Cost of doing business and all that, but it still sucks, and I can't find the frame. I've been cleaning up the office. That's probably why I can't find it. But we do have brass etch foliage in the works. It will happen, I promise. It is a priority for me. It's actually on the list. In fact, the release calendar has some items that are pulled out from the individual months, and yeah, top of that is in fact brass leaf foliage. So there's your answer for that. Wiley Coda, can you get pure dry powder snow with crushed glass, or is that mostly for wet snow look? So Wiley Coda wants to know if you can get a dry powder look with crushed glass. The answer is yes, but it's not as easy. You're going to need to matte it down a little bit. What I would recommend is taking some matte gel, some matte medium,
mixing it with your crushed glass to get that look. It's going to make everything a little less shiny, but only a little, because you are still working with the crushed glass. It is very shiny to begin with. For those of you that haven't seen it here, let's pop down to the top-down cam after I get a jar of crushed glass. Caution! Contains crushed glass. Alright, so this is the crushed glass product. So, the nice thing about this, of course, is that it is, in fact, crushed glass. Let's zoom in. That's our sweet spot right there. So you can see you've got that sparkle. A slightly blue tint. I mean, it's just, I'll even get some here on the bristles. It's just shiny. You can't compete with that. Put on the black lid, so you can see how it's also somewhat translucent. Any of you familiar with the work of Matthew Fontaine? He has a couple of great pieces on his website. Blood and Snow, Terminator Duel, and his Chaos Ogre. Really great examples of what you can do with the crushed glass, and you'll be able to see very quickly that bicarbonate is definitely not what I recommend. But by the same thing, polyvinyl snow. As much as I like polyvinyl snow, and as often as I use polyvinyl snow, in terms of that luster that you get from snow, that shine, even for dry powdery snow, it just can't touch it. Let me pop open the scenic drawer here. My scenic drawer is a mess. Well, here, this is not our snow, but this is the Gale Force 9 snow. I'll do a side-by-side with this in the crushed glass so you can see it, and you'll really see the difference. Incidentally, our snow kit comes with this much snow and other stuff for almost the same price. Oh man! Alright, so let's get our manual focus back. Hey, don't argue with me, you're a camera. Of course, that might be why it's arguing with me. Alright, so this is the polyvinyl. This is polyester, it's plastic. It is a nice matte finish. It has no luster whatsoever. So even right here, just by itself, nothing added to it. I mean, you can see the luster, you can see the shine that you get from crushed glass. Make sure you're not getting a trick of the light. So it's a much different material, it's a much different there's a word for that. Reflection. It is a much different. That word's going to come to me at 3 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, yeah, it looks a lot different. Polyvinyl goes in there. Crushed glass goes up there because I actually use it. So yeah, if you're going to try and get a matte look from crushed glass, matte medium is the way to go. Don't mix it with realistic water. Don't mix it with gloss medium. Mix it with matte medium. And that is as good as it's going to get. You'll still get a little bit of luster, but not a lot. Alright, let's come back to the questions. Alright, D.W. Taylor. You came back to your question. I'm glad you did. D.W. Taylor wants to know, do you have a favorite color paint for paint chipping on tanks? Now, next question. No, I'm just kidding. Alright, it really depends on what I'm doing. As a general rule, there are a couple of good colors for that. I used to really enjoy the Caradon Granite from GW. I have not tried their equivalent paint. I've looked at it, and it doesn't look like an equivalent to me, so I'm probably going to try and find 100 bottles of Caradon Granite to stick in a drawer somewhere. That and bolt gun metal, but we won't get into that. Oh, we won't get into that. And the other is particularly for historical pieces, where they put the red oxide paint down on top of everything. Hull red from Vallejo is a good color for that. But it really depends on what I'm doing. If we're talking about new rust, old rust, I might just use black and white. I might use a combination of dark brown and black with a little bit of the lighter color, a slightly lightened version of the hull color. As a rule, if I was looking for one color, all the time I would say I do a lot of that with Caradon granite. If I'm doing sponge chipping for an army or something like that, I'm probably going to use a lot of Caradon granite for that. It's a great way to do it. Sponge chipping is good for that. Using the edge of your brush flat against the surface like this is very good for that. Yeah, but ultimately putting a bit of thought ahead of time into the environment and what methods were used in the production of the tank are going to make a difference for that, because if you are talking about like a historical model, an allied vehicle that did have that hull red paint down on top of it, the chances are good a light scratch is going to show hull red, a darker scratch is going to show more of a gray as the metal has gotten beaten. So it really does depend on what you're trying to accomplish. I wish I could be more specific for you. If you have a more specific question in terms of environment, tank color, things like that, I might be able to help. And of course, this goes for all of you. If you have a question that doesn't get answered in the show, email me, Mr. Justin, M-I-S-T-E-R, Justin, at secretweaponminiatures.com. I will take care of you. This is my favorite part of the job, so yeah, harass me. If nothing else, we can get an answer on the next Mr. Justin segment in September here. Alright, let's come down. Do you have a color paint glass? Crush test. Any recommendations for specific colors to use as the color of the area under the water effects on swamp bases? This is D.W. Taylor again. So the base color for swamp bases. Actually, yeah, I did all of the sample images for Secret Weapon. Again, using Caradon granite as a base. I dry brushed one of the GW light browns over the top of that. Used the Secret Weapon sewer water as a very thin wash over that, and in a few of them mixed the either sewer water or I think it was sepia into the realistic water as I was filling the base. That's one way to do it, though. Obviously, again, environment plays a part here. You can actually use pigment to do the bottom of those bases. In fact, if you do pigment and use a thinner to lock them in place, when you add the realistic water, some of that's going to float. So you'll get some little striated layers of pigment floating around inside the realistic water. Something I discovered quite by accident, but I thought was super, super awesome. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, there's not a hard and fast rule for that color either. I happen to like those muddy green-brown bases, specifically our green earth pigment. For wet earth, I think that our green earth pigment, I really like that color for muddy swampiness. So I would either use the Caradon granite for the base, or the green earth color as the base for that, maybe mix in a bit of violet. But that's me. I mean, be bold, man. Experiment. Play with some colors. I'm sure you've got, like me, probably 100 million paints. I've got the P3 line, the entire P3 line sitting here. I've got most of my old GW colors back there. I've got all the Secret Weapon washes here. I've got the old GW washes here. I've got some Deeds Magic inks over there. I've got the entire old GW line sitting in a bag in the garage because I've got P3. I love my P3 paints. Total random aside here, I wish that somebody had said this to me several years ago when I started painting again. Liquid pigment! That's all you need to know. As far as I'm aware, it's the only acrylic paint in the hobby market with liquid pigments. Secret Weapon washes too, liquid pigment, just saying. Makes a big difference, particularly if you're going to be airbrushing. Back to the list here. Ichiban Painting talking about the swamp bases, saying add some sewer water to the base, and that's true. More exciting water drinking. I'm noticing on screen here that having turned off the air conditioner, I'm getting a little red since I've been talking pretty much non-stop for an hour and a half, and it's hot in here. So, good thing I've got booze. Alright, moving on. Anybody out there have a hobby-related question, technique? Otherwise, we're going to start talking about tank detailing
although I forgot to write down who asked the question, because these are from prior to this week when I realized that I needed to keep track of that. But that's what I got. Is there a difference between filters and glazes beyond the paint used? D.W. Taylor wants to know this one too. Wow, that's a bigger question. Yes, there is a difference between a filter and a glaze. Glaze, that's the best way to answer this. I'm sure someone out there is going to have a different opinion on this, so I'll definitely preface this by saying this is my understanding and my opinion of the difference between a filter and a glaze. A filter is a body cover. It is going to take the entire area and try to unify some colors. So you're going to filter things out. I work with filters mostly on vehicles, of course, so when I'm looking at a filter, I'm taking my green and my chipping and my weathering, and I'm going to apply a filter over the top of that to try and mute everything, bring it together, unify those colors so that everything has, like let's just say I'm working on a green tank. I might take a raw sienna oil wash, use it as my filter, put it over the whole thing, and that means that my green, my light brown, my dark brown, my black chipping, my metallic areas, everything there that I put the filter over is going to have that yellow-orange tint to it, that raw sienna tint, to try and unify those colors. I find that very important for mixed scheme camos. For instance, if you've got black, brown, tan, or green camo schemes, putting a filter over the top of that is going to take the harshness of the transitions and mute that a bit. Whereas a glaze tends to be specifically applied color filters over areas so that you are glazing a section. The application itself is not a lot different, but the use of the language, we'll be talking about the difference between a glaze and a filter. Filter tends to be broad, glaze tends to be specific. It's my understanding of it. If somebody else has a different understanding of it, hey, this is going to go up on YouTube. Post in the comments, let us know. Zombies Are Cool Painting agrees with me, though. He says, however, a glaze can be applied as a filter, so a glaze is more of a general term, whereas a filter is more specific. Yeah, okay, I can go with that. I'm not going to argue. I think you're right, too. All right, so what do we got here? Turns out I've got the stream open in 3 windows. That might explain some of my performance issues with my computer here. All right, so we are going to talk a little bit about model detailing. And now, of course, the vehicle that I want to use for that, it's up there. Okay, I wasn't sure what it was. It was supposed to be in the display case. It got moved. I'm going to bring out a couple of vehicles for this. I'm going to bring down one Chimera conversion. I'm going to bring down my winningest Stug. I'm going to bring down another Chimera. Oh, I'm going to hear my wife get home with my son and my son crying. And that's going to make me sad. I think he's having a bad time. This is tough. Of course, I want to rush out right away and find out what's going on, but I'm here with you guys right now, so that's what we're going to do. Alright, let me bring out my Martyr. And an Atlas recovery vehicle from Forge World that I'm working on right now. So we can talk about a few different tanks. And see what's going on here. So, let's go back to product can. Alright, this is we talk about detailing tanks. There are lots of ways to detail tanks. Some of you have probably seen my tutorial on adding the German steel texture to hulls. Obviously there are a lot of different textures you can add to a hull. That's probably my favorite, though. I use that obviously on historical German tanks, but when I'm doing sci-fi fantasy vehicles, that's my go-to. I really like the way it looks when it's finished. So, we talk about detailing, and of course I can't get the engineer's ladder to stay here, because eventually it's just going to be glued, but I have little hooks. So we're going to talk a little bit about this Chimera conversion that I did. So we're going to talk about some of the detailing that went into this one. Probably going to have to manual focus again. I'm not kidding. Configure. Here we go. Camera control. Alright. Manual focus. Zoom in a little bit. not so much. Focus. Alright, so you can see I've got the basic Chimera hull. I filled in these stupid little portholes. If you don't think they're stupid, you're wrong. I'll be happy to explain that, but I hate them, I hate them, I hate them. Being a 40K model, one of the things you can't have enough of are rivets. The other thing, of course, is skulls. As a 40K vehicle, it must be covered in rivets and skulls. I have not added enough skulls to this yet, but I have added some rivets. So you can see the rivets I've added here. These were just taken from a plastic rod, cut down and glued in place. I used MEK plastic cement for that. I do recommend learning the chemical names for the glues and stuff that you're working with. So this is MEK, methyl ethyl ketone. It's actually a solvent. Working with this means that you are actually melting the plastics a little bit so they bind together. Creates a very strong permanent bond. And the nice thing is that unlike cyanoacrylate, which is super glue, you have some time to push it around a bit. So I've added some handles here to the hatch. You can see that there's a pivot, a handle, or a bar and a handle. On the heavy bolter, I've added muzzle length. I've actually added a fabric cover made out of, believe it or not, this is Kleenex. This is tissue paper, facial tissue, mixed with PVA, white glue, and water. Brushed over the top of that. I added a guard to the front of the driver's port there. This is a unit identifier that was actually sculpted by Jeff Wilhelm at Dragonforge Design for a friend of mine, and we are both using it. I've got some of our spent shell casings on the hull. I mean, all of this is done with the intention of telling a story. I'll have a tow cable that hangs here, but I'm going to replace this because it's just too big. I put in some brass climbing rods. I will actually fill these in the holes where it is in there. I'll actually take some liquid green stuff and fill those in to make some weld seams to make it look like this was added after the fact. Took our brass letters, added a registration mark to the back of the vehicle here. Alright, so D.W. Taylor wants to know why the portholes are stupid. I'll tell you why the portholes are stupid. We'll start with the fact that under the current book fluffiness, you get 5 guys firing out of a hatch here. So why you need 6 portholes is beyond me. It's kind of silly. But also, if you think about the placement of these, right? So you've got the gun that comes out right here, right, at this angle like this. This means that in order for you to fire out of the vehicle, you have to literally like have your head pressed against the hull, the roof or the ceiling of the vehicle inside, leaning sideways, all like gangster gun, right, shooting out the side. It physically it wouldn't work. It's just silly. So I made sure that I had the hatch here. I've got the rod. I've got the hinges, the handle to pull it up. I did leave the viewports. Filled in the space here. You can also see if you look through here. Took some putty, created weld seams. I'll come back in and add some weld seams, of course, in a few other spots as well. Same thing on the turret. It's a Predator turret. You can see I've got the spent shell casings because I will have the heavy stubber on here. Some Forge World filters. More rivets, of course, because it's a 40K vehicle. Gotta have more rivets. So this is one example of detailing a vehicle. In this case, I mean, the detailing is all in the conversion. I very much wanted a different Chimera. This is going to be my command Chimera for a Krieg Army. I've since abandoned the Krieg Army, but I've kept the vehicle because I really like it, and that's really the best reason. Let's look at a Chimera I did a long time ago. This is an old Chimera for me. And in this case, the detailing all went into the weathering. But again, I mean, here's the guns and the portholes. You can see, just a guy couldn't fire out of that. He just couldn't. It's just silly. The locations are silly. It limits the field of fire. They're silly. The detail in this went into telling a story. In this case, with the stowage. So, you know, a long haul vehicle in the snow with the mud. It is one I did a long time ago. I'm not happy with the weathering anymore. A lot of things that I would have done differently here. But it's still one that I hold on to because, in part, I like to see the changes I've made, but in my technique and my style. But also when I found something that I thought was show-worthy at the time, so that I can look back now and say, all right, well, what would I do differently there? Now let's look at Stug 3, I just entered into a contest. Going to need to do some focusing here. Alright. So in this case, we've got detailing in the form of stowage, which is, some of it is loose, so I'm going to pull that up now before it falls off. Got damaged a bit in transit from the show. Alright, the rest of this is fine. In this case, the detailing is mostly in the stowage, but also in a few things like the road wheels here. I added the road wheels in the back with the track pins to hold them in place. I actually measured the track pins by laying out an empty set of track, putting the rod across it, cutting it to length, slightly longer than length, heating up the end of it with a lighter, and pressing it flat so you can see you actually get that pin nail shape to it. But also adding the the rails, the anti-ditching rails, so they don't get stuck in a ditch. Some more of the stowage through here, but I've got both styles of the ditching rails on S-hooks. So there's actually a way for it to be attached. Added the detail in terms of the spare track length across the front, spare track lengths stowed in the back. And in the case of detailing, again, I came in with the weathering, but in addition to simply using the pigments on the side to create dark and wet dirt, made sure I brought some oil paint down and some realistic water to create the grease and some wet spots. Same thing, bits of grass and debris in the track. Overall, satisfied with how this came out. Again, a lot of things I'd like to do differently. But that's okay, because we have the other tank that I'm working on. This is a Martyr 3 3M Ausf, and in this case you can see I've got the German steel texture going on already on the lower hull. I need to add that to the upper hull. When we talk about detailing, this is a Dragon Smart Kit. I spent more time building this engine than I do painting most gaming tanks. It involves, probably 40 pieces of plastic, 20 pieces of brass etch, including, some little things. You're never going to see these things. There is, right there. You can see it through there. See those little lines through there? Right? Those lines are a brass etch screen. A little vent. It's a vent cover. It's just insane. You'll never see it, but it's there. Made the decision early on to hide the cockpit, but I am going to expose the engine because there's some flaps that fold up right here. I'm going to have the tank sitting here, guys outside of it. But the detailing here, a lot of these smart kits, if you start looking at a lot of the historical kits, come with detailing additions. So you can just put in the shell stowage, or you can add the brass nubbins, sit over the top of that. You can actually build the brass rack. So this is a folded brass rack to hold those in place. Let me get the focus here. Right? Just insane. And you can see I've done the base coating both on the interior of the crew compartment and the interior of the engine, including a bit of paint chipping through here. This is the Keratin granite. A little heavy. I'm actually going to cover that up a bit. But Keratin granite through here. Some filters and oil washes through there. And I still need to do the German steel texture through here. I may finish putting the tank together, obviously, but the road wheels and all of that will go on after I have done the rest of the weathering and texturing and whatnot. So these are different ways to detail a tank. Coming to the Atlas recovery vehicle from Forge World, this is one that I haven't started detailing yet, so I can talk a bit about what I'm going to do. I will add the filters that they make. I think their filters are fantastic. I really love these little additions. I think that Forge World makes some great kits and some great additions for their kits. This is going to have an engine hanging from the back of it, a Krieg guy standing out of here, so I've added a platform for him to stand. But I will add the German steel texture on here. I'm going to ding a couple of the doors. I will probably add some rivets again, only because it's a 40K vehicle. I think rivets are totally overdone. But when you look at the hull here and you can see all these rivets, right, in corners, well, there would be rivets here. So there needs to be a rivet down in that corner, there needs to be a rivet in this corner. I'm just going to fill in the spots where I think that Forge World should have added more rivets. I'll add some weld seams, things like that, just little things. So the weld seam across here where this has been added.
And just think about that. One of the great places to look for inspiration on how to or where you would detail a tank is, again, historical models. Historical modelers have a wealth of information when it comes to things like this. Look to them for inspiration. Look to photos of historical tanks, modern tanks for that matter. I mean, I can't say enough good things about looking up photos of the Abrams. Some of my favorite stuff involves looking at the Abrams tanks. The Abrams and the Sherman seem to have the most detailed photos out there. So that is a brief look at detailing vehicles. I mean, we can get into some specific techniques, at least for the next episode. If anybody out there has a specific question on how you would accomplish a specific look or technique, let me know. We'll cover it. All right, back to live questions before we move on here. Cross off that question. Details for tanks. Boom. What do we got? I've got to scroll up here. Why are the portholes stupid? DW Taylor, does that answer your question about why the portholes are stupid? I mean, you guys up there shooting like this just doesn't work. Zombies are cool painting says rivets look great, but gee, they're a pain to get on, and making them all the same size and having them evenly spaced. Yes, they are a pain to get the same size. I tend to do that just sitting there with my ruler. I'll actually take my ruler, tape down your rivets. So take a piece of double-sided tape, put it down across your cutting surface. Take your rod, the plastic rod that you're going to be using to create rivets, set it down on top of that so that it's on the double-sided tape, right? Take your ruler, take a metal ruler that has a cork bottom, right? So it's got this little gap right here, little spot where you can have that border. Press that right up against the rod on the millimeter side. Boom! The tape is going to hold the ruler in place, the tape is going to hold the rod in place, and you can come in there with your hobby knife and boom, 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 boom. Get nice 1 millimeter cuts. Look at that. This is what Ask Mr. Justin is all about. Little tips like that. Works beautifully. Great way to get it. Keeping them evenly spaced, same thing. Take your ruler and make sure you're marking on the tank with a Sharpie, a fine-point Sharpie or one of those micron pens, right? Mark out your spaces that way. And again, if you use the MEK, methyl ethyl ketone, take your hobby knife, take a brand new blade on your hobby knife, so you've got that fine point, stab the top of your rivet, hold the brush of the MEK very gently, take the rivet and brush it across the brush. Don't try to use the MEK brush that comes in the bottle to do it. Not enough control. You need to very gently tap the rivet on the hobby knife against the brush of the MEK, then put it on top of the dot on your tank. Let it sit there for a few seconds. Fingernail on top of the rivet. Slowly pull the hobby knife out of there. You should be fine. Should work beautifully. It's a lot of work. It's a pain in the ass, but there it is. Ooh, can I say ass without getting PG-13 rating on the video here? Let's see. Moving on to more of the live chat here. Oh, Ichiban Painting says there's such a big difference when people that started doing modeling then wargaming. It's crazy. Yeah, that's true. That's certainly one of the reasons when I started getting into wargaming again, particularly 40K and War Machine. I was so keen to introduce people to a lot of these techniques. There was a lot of it that I just took for granted. It's easy stuff, right? And when I started talking to wargamers, there was definitely this perception that a lot of the weathering and detailing and modeling techniques that the historical guys use or crossover guys like myself use, that they're difficult. It's hard, particularly since they get labeled masterclass, and they say, "Oh well, I'm not a masterclass painter, so I couldn't do it." Bollocks to that. Absolutely bollocks. It's easy. We might call it a masterclass technique, but a lot of these things are easy. The real trick comes into the time that you're willing to put into it. You might add a couple of rivets to your model. That doesn't make it a masterclass model. Adding a lot of rivets, evenly spaced, evenly cut, throwing away the ones that don't work. That's what makes it masterclass. Wiley Coyote wants to know, would you do color modulation on your tank before you weather it? The answer is yes. When you're doing pigments, that's generally the last thing you do to a model. Absolutely the last thing you do to your model. Again, there are exceptions. There's always exceptions. We're not talking about the exceptions. Generally speaking, pigments are going to be the last thing you do to a model, which means that all of your painting should be finished prior to doing any weathering. That doesn't include paint shipping, things like that. I would generally do the modulation and then my paint shipping. D.W. Taylor, I imagine they lose their minds trying to figure out how to properly weather sci-fi tanks designed by people who didn't necessarily fully think out how they work. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's one of the things, like with the Chimera, that's always bugged me. Right, we talk about the Chimera. I've heard that these are engine exhausts on the side of the Chimera here. I've also heard they're an intake. I'm going to go with exhausts because it's an amphibious vehicle, and there's nowhere else to put the engine. It seems to me like you've got an engine on both sides here. Twin-track engines, they exist. But it's one of those things that for me as a modeler, as I came at this and I was looking at it, I'm like, well, do I put exhaust fumes there? I mean, is this carbon? Do I need like purple, brown, and black pigment here? Or is it an intake? In which case I should really put a screen across this because there ought to be a screen across there, right? Yeah, it's little things like that where you really want some answers. But on the whole, one of the things for me that I get caught up in a lot when it comes to fantasy models like this is that don't overthink it. It's really easy to overthink it, both with historical models and fantasy models. Don't overthink it. The best example of that I ever had is I love the Bustroyans from Games Workshop, and you've got that Bustroyan standard bearer out there, right? He's all shirtless, the rest of them all in their big fur hats and everything. And I remember some guy who was saying, he's like, well, yeah, but what about that guy? He just wouldn't make it. And people were justifying, oh, he's on combat drugs, or it's, oh, it's this and so it's that. And I'm like, dude, it's a model. He's great. It looks awesome. Buff, topless guy with the banner for the Bustroyans, everybody else all armored up, and he's all like, yeah. Who cares? Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Don't worry about it. Do it the way you want to do it, and if you like it, it's going to be great. Zombies are cool painting. I noticed that Basecraft just started a tough line. Is this something you've considered doing? There are only 2 or 3 companies that really produce nice ones. Are they hard to produce? Yes, Basecraft has started making his own tufts. You talk about good relationship. David shared his technique for me, or with me. We put a lot of thought, both of us, into how that would work. We share a lot of techniques. Can't say enough good things about Basecrafts. Please solicit him. Patronize him, rather. I have considered doing it. We do a much different volume of sales, David and I. He wants to keep his very much part-time, sideline work, hobby. This is all I've got. Right? I left a 15-year career to make this happen. This is all I've got. We do a lot of sales. The method that David is using is great. It produces a wonderful product. I've got some of those on my models, including a couple of my display case right here, right there. I would never be able to produce them well enough and fast enough to keep up with demand, so we just don't. I have solicited Mini Nature Solafor. Let's just say they have a deal with one company and they don't want it with another one because they weren't happy with how that deal played out, or so I'm told. I won't be doing them on my own, though. I mean, that's the real answer here. I won't be doing it on my own. If we can find somebody that'll let us resell their tufts, great. Otherwise, we won't be doing it. I'd love to, but we need a machine, and that means inventing a machine to do it. And no, not going to happen. Oh, Slick Rock. Living Still wants to know about Moab and Slick Rock. Yeah, email me about Slick Rock. We will talk about that. I'm going to need some specific examples from you. Just because there are a lot of ways to do that. It's things like Moss, Dross, Moab, Slick Rock. There are a lot of different ways to pull that off, a lot of ways for that to look. We could probably do a half-hour segment just looking at different ways to do that. And we might. I can either deal with that via email with you, or even bring that back for the next Ask Mr. Justin so that I'm a little more prepared to deal with something that broad. Maybe we devote an episode or a part of an episode to the wet things like swamps and dross and moss and things like that. Alright, so we are at 5:51. We've got 9 minutes left. 9 minutes. For the Ask Mr. Justin segment for this month. What do you guys got? Let's look at some live questions. Our Dogma wants to see Slick Rock too, so we are definitely going to come back to that. Keep harassing me. We've got the September episode will happen on the first Monday. Wow, that is Monday, September 3rd. We're probably going to have to push that one out too. I'll just be getting back from Nova Open, and my wife starts teaching on Tuesday the 4th. Junior high math teacher. We'll see how it looks. We'll see how it looks. But one way or another, the September episode will include Wet Rock, things like that. Yeah, it's Labor Day. It's also my birthday. Another day older than I've ever been. Any new wash releases oncoming? Maybe some more metallic. Ichiban Painting asked that. Maybe. Excuse me. Maybe. I would like to do more washes. Right now we have 30. For me, realistically, doing new washes mostly means retiring old colors. I don't really want to have more than 30 colors. We have some room to trim, in my opinion, but the colors that I would trim are popular. So I haven't done it. I mean, that's the reality of it, is that the colors that I think that we can do without, because there's a lot of overlap, are colors that sell well. I mean, the fact that we sell 5 different browns well means that I shouldn't be cutting one of the browns. So I need to think more about that. I don't want to expand to 40 washes right now, but that's what I would have to do. And it would probably be 5 new metallic washes, which I'd like to see, because I have ideas for them. We'd add a white wash, because I get a lot of requests for that. I'm thinking about it. That's the short answer to will there be more washes, is I'm thinking about it. Not anytime soon. Our dogma wants to know that since I got a birthday coming up, he got me a Secret Weapon gift card. Thank you. I'm sure that David will appreciate it if I start actually paying for my stuff instead of just walking out to the shop and be like, oh, I'm taking some inventory. Yeah, now that David's in charge of the shop, I'm getting in trouble for stealing inventory, as I should. Thick water effects. Zombies Are Cool Painting wants to know about thick water effects. Realistic water is not the best product. What do you recommend? We're talking stuff over 1 inch thick. Okay. Yeah, if you're talking about pouring like 1 inch of water, yeah, realistic water is not the thing for that. It's for thin layers, no more than 1/8 of an inch. Use it for basing. Great. But if you're talking about deep water, like you're trying to fill a display or something like that with water, yeah, you're going to want to go with a 2-part clear resin, epoxy resin. Obviously, I'm looking around the shop here. I've got some that I really, really like. It's got a 24-hour cure time. It's crystal clear. It's really easy to get the bubbles out. I picked it up at Michael's Hobby and Craft. It's like liquid crystal water resin or something like that. Pretty obvious name. It was in Michael's. It was $20 with the catalyst and the thing. It was great. I've had very good luck with it. I believe, though, it's the same product that Matthew Fontaine used that he has nothing good to say about because it has not worked out for him. I don't know if we're doing anything different. I doubt it. But yeah, resin, particularly the clear resins, can be a real pain. If you're willing to experiment, yeah, head down to Michael's, pick up a couple of their clear resins, mix them up, small batches, pour them into a cup, see what you get. See if you like it. Find the one you like. There are lots of tutorials out there for working with that. Matthew has a great one up on his website. I'm not going to do any more product shots, so I'll get this out of my way. Be very careful doing the layers because you're going to get the line between them. Yeah, check out Matthew's blog for his tutorial on working with the clear resin, so you can see the pros and cons of that. There's a lot of good tutorials out there right now, though, on working with clear resin. I don't have any of them off the top of my head, but I know that Matthew has a good one. Alright, back to the questions here for our last few minutes. No, none of those products. We've got a list of people suggesting products that it might be. Those aren't them. But we're at the end here. Any more questions? Last minute questions. I still have Manhattan, though. I'm not sure how this happened. Alright, in which case I'm going to ask for some feedback. If nobody has a question for me, I got questions for you! You people out there, I got questions for you. This is our second Ask Mr. Justin segment. Obviously, things got a little better here. We've got the bumpers coming into it, right? Animated logos. Hey, everybody loves animated logos. We've got our very fancy I have to go to the bathroom sign. Huh? Because, you know, sometimes I got to go to the bathroom. That said, improvements, changes. Tell me what you want to see, either here in the comments in the last 4 minutes here, or by email. I'd love to know how we can make the Ask Mr. Justin segment more relevant, more useful, something you guys look forward to. Get a chance. I really want to talk about techniques. I really want to talk about methods of weathering painting. Like I said, this is not the Secret Weapon show. This is the Ask Mr. Justin show. So if you guys want to talk about pros and cons of other people's products. I'm happy to look at competitor stuff. I'll say nice things about them when I've got something nice to say, and I'll give you a why I don't like something when I don't. As much as possible, I'll do comparisons too. If you guys ever been in my classes, you know that I'll compare pigment brands so that I can show you what I like and don't like about some of the other pigment brands out there. I'm always happy to do stuff like that, man. Always happy to do stuff like that. Hobby first. It's got to be hobby first in all of these presentations, whether it's the videos or my classes. Hobby first. Funky Plaid says we should find out a way to live stream this to some of the stores, like project it on the wall. Hey, yeah, that'd be cool if you guys want to work on that with your show, with your local shops, your local game store. You know, we can probably find a way to turn that into a frontliner reward. I'd be happy to give people some free stuff in return for getting us up on the live in the shops. Also be aware that we have, and this is for those of you who get Secret Weapon product at your local stores, please support your local stores. As much as I like the extra money from direct sales, got to support your local stores. But we have a retailer newsletter. Send your retailer to our website. Have them sign up for the Retailer Connection newsletter. We give sales tips, we give previews, and one of the things that we do for all of our retailers, whether they're signed up for the newsletter or not, is free web streaming demonstrations. So if they want a pigment demo, all they need to have is a big screen TV and a broadband internet connection, and I will get on and do a 2-hour pigment demo for their store. Absolutely free. Free to the students, free to the store, free. These are for the stores that either don't have the capacity to bring me out for a weekend workshop, or just not enough customers for some of those smaller stores. I know the idea of getting 20 folks together to split the cost of bringing me out for the weekend doesn't always work. So free streaming product demos, absolutely free. Talk to your stores about it. We can totally make that happen. For individual workshop stuff, I'm also happy to do one-on-one workshops or small group workshops by webcam. There's a cost involved in that, but if you're interested, drop me an email, let me know. Hey, positive feedback here coming in on the chat channel about quality of the broadcast. Nice design, working well, informative. Funky Plaid saying thank you for the store support and willingness to put yourself out there. Absolutely, I made that decision when we launched Secret Weapon. Although distributed sales means that well, the retailers make more on my product than I do. Made that decision early on that we had to support the local gaming community. I think it's really important. I think that more of the small manufacturers need to find a way to make that work. You know, we start losing the local community, and you've got nowhere to game. I mean, we can't always do it in our garage. We can't always just order online. It's important to have those local shops. They do a lot for us, and we've got to keep them going, man. Wiley Coyote has suggested that I have a segment prepared from my FAQs that I encounter normally, most likely the same questions we'll end up asking. I do get things prepared. Well, this is the second show, obviously. I had a couple of questions prepared, in this case 3 questions prepared. Yeah, I will definitely do more of that, and I will be doing some FAQ videos. Hey, we talk about the future. One of the things I'm working on, we actually have the shot list and the outline ready for the first Mr. Justin DVD. I'll cover the basics of pigments. One of the things that's always annoyed me as a hobbyist is that there's a lot of videos out there that cover pigments and things like that, but they tend to step like forward. And I think we need to start at the beginning, like what a pigment is, how it works, and yeah, come back. So we'll have that big 3-part pigment video DVD series coming up. Well, thank you guys. We are at the end here. It is 6:01. Yeah, I will work on the choppy video. I did get some feedback. There's choppy video. We'll work on that, and I will see you guys next month. Hopefully on the first Monday. It's supposed to be first Monday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. We will make it happen. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting Secret Weapon and your local game stores. Keep painting. Enjoy your hobby. And yeah, anything comes up in the interim, Mr. Justin at secretweaponminiatures.com. That's M-I-S-T-E-R, Justin at secretweaponminiatures.com. I will take care of you either here on the Ask Mr. Justin segment or by email. We'll make it happen. Get your questions answered. Have fun, folks. See you next time.